Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to Becoming Awesome. I'm your co-host Ray Thomas, and I have my wonderful co-host Jenna Last with me. How are you, Jenna?
Oh, I'm good. Why don't we just tell the truth that we are
Yeah.
not quite wonderful because we had a technical glitch and
Yeah.
we are a little bit late today. But I'm really happy that we had a nice long weekend and we come back from our time off and we get to meet with our first global podcaster guests. So without further ado, let's bring on Stephanie.
Yeah, so let's bring on Stephanie. Welcome, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you so much for having me on as your first international guest. I feel honored. This is great.
Yeah, I actually was a little bit worried too when you told us that you haven't seen any of our shows, that you have no idea what you are getting yourself into. So
I'm,
thank
I
you.
feel so bad. I was like, oh yeah, I've sort of set time aside to watch some episodes, and then, as always, life gets in the way. And then I just was reading messages from you guys, and I was like, they sound fun. This is going to be a blast. I trust these guys. We'll have a good chat.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we may have people out there that have seen your show, or there may be people that would like to start or may start watching your show. So, this is all about humanizing who you are and evangelizing your show. So,
Yeah.
let's get to it. Tell us who you are, tell us about your show, and anything else that you'd like to share. And Ray and I will pick away.
Sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Stephanie Gooch. I'm a senior optimization architect or senior SA at AWS, and I work in a team called Optics. So, my job is to help customers globally optimize their spend at AWS. So, we look at things like cost optimization, so helping people save money. We look at financial operations, so things like chargeback, showback. We also do best practices and just kind of general knowledge sharing, which is basically what my show is. So my show is called The Keys to AWS Optimization, and my kind of tagline is that it's the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. So the goal is to take customers, people watching like you guys, through maybe 100 to 300 level optimization ideas or strategies or kind of concepts that they can implement in their own businesses. And it's every Thursday at 3:30 my time, which is 3:30 GMT plus one at the moment. But yeah, subject to change where you are. But yeah, we're just kicking off with our 7 actually for where we're just focusing on optimization. So almost every episode this season is about optimizing one of those classic services that you'll be using.
Awesome. I think we need to optimize Twitch with the glitch that we just had earlier. It was so normally we have the title like Becoming Awesome, and then we have the episode, and then the full name of the show that we're featuring, the guest, and the title of their show. So we'll in the future we'll edit it once we go into VOD mode. So with that said, we're really excited to have you, and thank you for spending the time with us, because I know you're in the UK time zone. There's a 5 hour difference. It's evening your time, but I think given what the world is really interested in, given all the changes economically, et cetera, cost optimization is huge. It's a huge topic, and there's so many great programs and educational pieces out there to help our customers get the most out of their money, right? So here you are. I think what you mentioned to us initially is that it's hosted by you and 2 others. I think you mentioned Savannah and John. Can you just tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, so that those have changed over time, with me always being like the main host. So yeah, Savannah Jensen, who is one of my peers, who also looks after telco customers with me. So my main customers are telco customers, and she's also been doing it for a while with me now. Came on as a guest with my original co-host, which was Alex Head, who's my manager's manager, and she's out on mat leave at the moment, so taking some time away from the show. And we had Michael Biddle, who was our original other co-host, but has moved into a different team. So yeah, Savannah came on as a guest, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying that she was a little bit nervous to do a live show when she first got into it, but after the first one, she was so good that she kept wanting to come back on, and so she's a really great kind of co-host to have along as well. John Massey did the same thing, where he was a guest, and he's super technical, super knowledgeable, and one of the experts in our team when it comes to any kind of deep dives into optimization. Whereas Savannah comes from a CES kind of point of view and a billing concept. So they have two very different strength areas, which means for me as a kind of main host, I can pull one of them in for one type of episode and the other one in for another type, and we can get those different kind of conversations going. So it can either be kind of super technical, or it could be kind of super strategy and AWS native focus, that we can go down those routes. So yeah, it's nice having other people to rely on. And then sometimes if I can't make it, then at least they can take the reins for an episode.
And do you consider yourself to be more technical or more on the strategy side, or 50-50?
So my original kind of job was I used to be a DevOps engineer. So my kind of stepping back, before I worked here, I worked at KPMG, and I was a DevOps engineer there before I got my kind of FinOps hat and started doing that as a job. And so I would like consider the fact that I did a lot of building with CloudFormation, Terraform, Python scripting back in the day, gives me a good kind of foundation in technology and being a tech person. But as I've moved into this role now, I lead more on the side of becoming a strategy, a person that goes on camera a lot and speaks and kind of does big talks and looks at kind of large, big picture optimization, but with the head that I can kind of flip back to the other side and go deep dive if I need to, which is quite nice to have the kind of bit I can kind of flick between. But it's one of those things where I do miss being able to just like turn on some really bad music and like dive into some code and just kind of get kind of tunnel vision vibe where I just go for it for a whole day. So sometimes I get to do that, which is always good fun. But then I do love speaking to people, like people who are watching today.
What got you into that? Or what got you into the speaking aspect of it? And
the speaking stuff. In like general, and then maybe I'll go into like Twitch. So I think the main thing I got into when it came for speaking was I've been speaking since I was kind of a teenager, and doing a lot of, I just like gradually was having to do talks at work and talks at school, and I hated it. I really didn't enjoy it. I'd always get like bright pink. And one day there was like a turning point when I realized that it's actually really powerful and really fun, and to kind of have an audience listen to what you're saying and then being able to help a lot of people at once was something I really enjoyed. And that was how I kind of transitioned into speaking more.
Awesome. So what are you hearing from the market? Like what kind of topics are they interested in hearing about under this like grand umbrella of optimization?
So it really ranges depending on the customer. Sometimes it's as simple as I just want to see how much I'm spending money on. I need a tagging strategy. I'm not sure if I should buy a savings plan or an RI, and when do I do that? All the way to kind of, I want to use Spot, I want to use serverless, I need to use Graviton, and it can really fluctuate. One of the things that I hear the most and the quickest problem I solve is probably how to see things. And that is using the Cloud Intelligence dashboard. And there's kind of a link that I've shared for that, and how to set up this dashboard that allows customers to dive into their cost and usage report and have these great visuals that they can drill down into, they can filter, they can set it up so that they can provide certain teams different access to the cost and use report and see all this data at once that allows them to make big optimization opportunities and kind of save money. But yeah, that's kind of a big one at the moment as well. People love talking about Graviton. That's a big one that customers want to figure out how they can move to Graviton quickly, or is it really worth it? And where is the kind of low hanging fruit, which is always the managed services that customers can use Graviton on.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit more for those that might not know what Graviton is? Can you share what it is?
Yeah, sure. Apologies, I did give a kind of brief announcement of it. There's always so much for FinOps that I kind of jump around a little bit. So when it comes to Graviton, Graviton is just a different processor that AWS developed, which we pass on the savings we get. So it's a 40% price performance saving for customers on EC2. So what that means is that because that they're built on silicon and because they're a much quicker processor kind of chip in the back end, it means that you often need a smaller instance type to do the same job as you would in an Intel server. So we have that saving, and then you have a 20% cost saving that we pass to customers because it's cheaper for us to run those processors. So it's basically the kind of operate the processor that your machine sits on. So Intel is the traditional one that almost everything else is on, and then you have ARM, and then you have Graviton, which is our version.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're talking about strategies and whatnot for cost optimization, right? I mean, there are multiple strategies, and I think they apply depending on what you're really trying to achieve and what type of organization you have in the first place, right? So, what would be like the number one type of strategy everyone should like keep top of mind?
Mhm. Definitely the kind of seeing your cost is where I always start. So I mentioned those dashboards, but the thing I always like to think about is if you want to start optimizing, you have to know where you're spending money to be able to optimize, because there's no point setting KPIs or goals around stuff that might not be relevant to your business. So having a way to see cost, it doesn't have to be the dashboards, it could be a third-party tool, it could be Cost Explorer, it could just be your bill. But having that visibility into where you're spending the most money is really, really important. And that way you can then decide, okay, if we're spending the most on CloudWatch, maybe you might need to do some kind of labs on CloudWatch, or review that, or bring that into the conversation more, or read blogs about optimization and kind of figure out how to optimize that spend. But the stepping stone into it is always cost. And I'll always spend kind of maybe my first like 2 or 3 meetings with a customer, finding out how they see their spend and hopefully improving it, or at least coming up with maybe an additional like tagging strategy if they need it. But my tagging strategy is always don't tag, which is odd. Don't tag resources, but accounts, which is a whole other kind of kettle of fish. But yeah, if you're wondering like how to get started, just make sure that you can see your spend.
So on the show, is this a conversation that's like theory, or are you actually demonstrating how to use the tools to actually help the customers optimize?
Both. So we try and do a lot of interview, kind of like what you guys are doing, and have conversations, especially if we're speaking to customers or SMEs in the industries, subject matter experts. And that's where it's a lot of kind of like you're doing to me, asking questions, getting audience participation to ask the questions that they want to know the answers to, and just kind of diving into it and giving people practical recommendations they can do. But on the other side, we also do love to do demos. So we've got a load of videos on those cloud intelligence dashboards where we get the team that build them to come in and do kind of stories along like what dashboards to use where, new enhancements to the dashboards, certain kind of tabs and how you could use them, as well as we've done demos on like Cost Explorer or the Cost and Use report. So I think it's good to have a mix, because sometimes people like me, if you want to figure out how to do something, I always just go on YouTube and figure out if I can find a video to show me. And so I do love to put as much as that content out as possible. But then there is the kind of more podcasty side, which is where we're having a conversation and people can have us on in the background, and they might be able to learn from other people who have experienced the same thing.
Yeah, so no two shows are the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely not. I think we've done a couple that are like similar in terms of the subject, but if anybody wants to be a guest on the show, which is often, we do kind of get them to look at the previous episodes, because there is so much around optimization. I often try and like summarize as much as I can, but there's so many different avenues, and you can go really deep or you can go really high level. So we try not to repeat ourselves in terms of the kind of conversation, because otherwise it's not interesting for viewers and it's less fun. It's less fun for me.
Yeah.
But we're now getting to like 100 episodes. I think we're maybe like 10 short of that at the moment, off the top of my head. So I'm like, I can't even remember all the episodes. So I had to go back and look through. Someone was like, have you done this? And I was like, let me just have a quick check. I'm not sure. But yeah, so it kind of does blur together a little bit.
Do you get a special badge for getting to 100? It seems such a milestone.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do something. Jeff Barr came on a few months ago, and so I was like, could we get him back on to do a special guest? Could we get someone come on really senior to do it? Could we do some kind of prize draw? So any ideas, like put it in the chat.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure
out there. They can share some ideas.
Yeah.
So when you say guests, so these are internal guests, or are these customers and they're external that come on the show?
Again, it's both. It just depends on the subject. So we try and get a mix of people from my team, because we do spend a lot of time with customers and want to give them a platform to chat about the optimization opportunities that they can share, and they are experts as well. But we also do get people who are TAMs or SMEs kind of in the rest of Amazon that can also share stuff. And then as well as that, we have a lot of product owners. So we've had people from things like Snapshots, Dynamo, Compute Optimizer. Those guys come in and they'll talk about announcements that will be released. So, for example, one with the Compute Optimizer team had the data integration announcement a couple of months ago, where you can now add in things like Datadog, memory metrics into Compute Optimizer. They came on our show to kind of not necessarily announce it, but it was like the first kind of video that they'd done around it. And we had the developer come on and talk about it, which is quite cool. But we also get customers. We love having customers. So we had Eric Boomy was my last episode before the hiatus. Eric from Boomy. And that's always great because I love asking customers questions, because I speak to customers all the time and like advise them on what to do. But these people were like actually doing the thing. And so I can ask them questions, and I'm always probably the most excited to talk to them, because they're sharing stories. Like it's kind of sharing war stories, but also giving other customers advice, and they're really open when they come on the show and kind of say if they've had any kind of stepping stones they had to do, any issues or any advice that they can share, then they talk very freely, and we allow them to kind of say almost whatever they want about what they're doing.
I like that. I look at this platform, Twitch in general, right? It gives the opportunity for customers, potential customers, etc., to come in and just talk to you live, and at the same time, I look at it as almost like free tier support. It's another great added resource that they could come in and just get that information, or at least be pointed to the information they're looking for. As you said, you have almost 100 episodes, incredible amount of knowledge that's probably shared throughout all of them. They can pinpoint them to something that can really help them in their journey, right? So, I love that, and I think more people should come in and just get to know you, especially cost optimization. Like, this is one of the big ones that, they're gonna get a lot of value in multiple ways. So,
no, your passion for it really comes out as you're talking about the experiences of even the things that you kind of are learning as well. And so that really comes out really well, really nicely.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, do you have a feel like, do you have like a barometer with yourself where you're like, this was a great show, or this was not such a great show, but I'm going to learn from it and kind of, try another way? Like, has there been any evolution in your show at all?
Oh yeah, I feel like I should. I think I almost went to watch. I saw, I think it was Darko, who's a big streamer on the AWS. Shout out Darko, who's one of the people who advised me when I first started. And he did something recently where he was like, first episode I ever filmed, and then like most recent. And his like intro was just like so different, and he was so much more charismatic because he's gotten used to being on camera and stuff. And I kind of went to watch one of my early ones and was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I can, especially with the worst microphone and like terrible lighting. But yeah, we've definitely changed and evolved. That when we first started the show, I'm trying to think. I think I started when I'd only been here at Amazon like 5 months, which is crazy to think about. So I think it was 2021. And we kind of got the opportunity. It came about by someone saying, does anybody want to be a guest on any show? And I put my name down for cost optimization. And somehow I then got my own show, which seemed crazy because I have no experience. I didn't have any experience back then. And so it was a massive learning curve to figure out how to stream and how to use this stuff and how to interview people. And so it's really changed over the time. The topics we started off with were very kind of 100 level basic conversations. And now I really seek out to challenge like myself a lot of the time, to look for stuff that I know nothing about and try and learn from people, because like I said, there's so much. And with me being kind of a hybrid of technical, non-technical, there's areas that are massive blind spots. So I get people on to come and teach me stuff. And that's hopefully what comes across in the show a lot, is that I can be the voice of the viewer and ask the dumb questions that I'm like, I don't really know what they're talking. Like they'll say an initialism or an acronym and I'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying. Can you please explain? And try and be that kind of voice. So I'm always trying to learn, because otherwise, where's the fun in that if I'm not learning?
Sure. Yeah. Shout out to Darko. Darko has been a great help even for us. Right. And we had Darko on the show. Was it Darko that had the or no, Darko had the computers. We had the tour of his old.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll have to watch that episode, Steph.
Yes, I know all about his computers, and I've listened to his episode on the John Mayer podcast. Shout out John Mayer's podcast, is all about how his house is like full of all these computers.
Well, we got an inside look. We got a tour. We actually got a look, and he flipped his camera around and gave us a tour.
Well, he's technical enough to deal with the camera changes. I think I could do it.
Yeah. We had somebody else that played the Rubik's Cube down to the wire, and I only say that because I noticed that you have a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
No, Aaron Hunter. Yeah, so Aaron Hunter was.
Of course, Aaron. Yeah.
And yeah, that baffles me. I can't do that at all. Rubik's cubes, it just doesn't connect for some reason.
Well, this is behind the scenes. So we like to not just know about the show and anything that goes into the show, but really about the human being that's presenting the show. So did a little research. We know that you train, teach, and compete in Strong Women, and you're also a professional cake baker, according to your LinkedIn profile. So
I need to take that off there.
Okay, then I guess we'll talk about the
No, we can touch on it. It was, we can talk about the Strong Women stuff for sure.
Yeah. Before we do, we have a question in the chat, so is this building rapport or simply data analytics? I don't know what you mean by that, Mexicans, and I think you're from Sweden. No, so I don't understand what you mean, but if you can, just clarify in the chat and we'll get to you, because we definitely want to get to some of the audience here. But we do have a few minutes, like you said, Jenna. So with that said, is there anything that you'd like to share about you personally, Steph?
Yeah, so we were talking, I guess I'll go off of what Jenna mentioned on my profile. So to caveat, I used to decorate cakes, and I used to decorate cakes for fun and sell them. So that's why I used to be a professional cake decorator. But since lockdown, bake less. Otherwise, I don't want to eat a 3-tier cake by myself. So the other thing I do is Strong Women. So some of the trophies are from my Strong Women competitions. So I compete in training Strong Women, the same as Strong Man. The thing that you see World's Strongest Man, the same events as what I do. I have been doing it for a couple of years now, and I just competed at England's Strongest Woman. Came sixth, was 1 second from coming fifth. Which is a shame, but it's fine. I've got a bad shoulder injury, so it's actually a good thing that I am done for the rest of the year. But yeah, I've been doing that for a while. So strength sports is like a big part where I train and teach at a local gym to me. So if anyone wants to learn a little bit about Strong Women, I think they can share my Instagram bio, which is Lift Like a Nerd, which is basically combining my love of lifting and nerdiness, which is a combination of all of the work that I do and also all the Marvel stuff that you can clearly see in my background.
How'd you get into that, by the way? How'd you get into the Strong Woman?
Oh, it was like, a long story short, I did martial arts, broke my ankle twice, and then tried boxing, CrossFit, powerlifting, and then did Strong Woman just by like some weird, like fluky situation of knowing someone who was doing something, and then a friend on Instagram, and then went to a gym that's literally around the corner from me and did one session, picked up one of those giant cement balls and was hooked into doing it.
Amazing. Jenna, I don't know about you, but every time we meet someone, meet a guest, right, we talk about the career background, what the incredible work that they're doing and the support they're giving their customers and the value. But then the more we get to know them, from a personal side, it's amazing some of the other incredible things that they're doing, because like you said, Strong Women, etc. Something that I hope my daughter can learn from. I like to inspire my daughter by showing women doing incredible things of anything. I don't care if it's in business or if it's in athleticism, right? So, but you look at that and it's just like phenomenal. We do have someone's asking, Frank L81, do you lift with or without equipment?
So I'm assuming they mean as in equipment. So there's equipped lifting, which basically means you can wear additional accessories to help you lift more. So there's something called a deadlift suit, which is basically makes your body want to stay like rigid. So when you try and dip down, like pulls you back, and that means that it assists you with the lift. The same with these things that you wrap around your knees for a squat, that means you kind of like bounce out of it more. I don't use that stuff. I use the best I use is like a belt and some straps. But yeah, I'm unequipped as a lifter. But yeah, it's more like unassisted lifting. But yeah, but then some of my friends do, and I have tried it, but I find them very uncomfortable, very hard to use. But if the question is generally about lifting things, then I do lift up with things of equipment if they've gone too technical for that. But
I think I heard
hopefully
you
that
say
answers.
cement ball. Is that
Yes, yeah, an Atlas ball. I was going to pick it up, but I'm not going to now. There's like a giant. I have one that's under my desk, but it's not cement. It's just plastic. But yeah, they're like a big Atlas stones is what they're called, and they're just a big cement ball that you basically pick up from the floor and you put onto a high shelf. Strongman is a silly sport so I can pick up, I think it's like max 100 kilos is what I've done. I do not know what that is in pounds. Apologies, American listeners.
Just one thing. There's a question from SVE Ghoul. So just to answer your question, Becoming Awesome is one of the AWS podcasts where we are highlighting the incredible people here, some of the work that we're doing. And this is season 3, where we are actually highlighting the other AWS Twitch show owners to give visibility into what their podcast is about and the value that they could bring to current customers to maybe future customers, etc. And in this one, we have Steph. That's one of our cost optimization SMEs. She has her own show, as we have mentioned in the chat, where you can actually see. I think there are links where it links to a lot of incredible resources about cost optimization, and you should definitely check out her own stream and ask questions live. So
yeah, and similar, Mick Skins is asking in the same relation why we're asking you personal information. It's Mick Skins. It's really to humanize the technologists that are on these shows. They talk about technology, and we want to be able to humanize them as people, and that's so that you can feel connected to them as you may continue to watch their shows. So they don't have enough time to really talk about themselves, because they're out there trying to share as much information as they can for you to learn about best practices and technologies. And Ray and I swoop in to talk about who they are as people.
Awesome. And we have just a few seconds left. So again, apologies for the delayed start. It was a Twitch glitch that will change. And then we will put the full title of the show in the episode with Steph's information. But again, Steph, thank you so much for making the time. I know it's late out there, so I hope to have you back on in the future. But again, thank you so much for making the time, especially after you just came back from PTO.
Yeah, nice one, PTO. Thank you so much. Been absolutely great. And yeah, if anybody has any follow-up stuff, my Twitter, AWS Steph, feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jenna, and thank you, Kevin, in the background. And thanks for everyone asking the questions. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.